Hello, everyone. My name is Amanda Ferber. I am Architecture Hunters founder and CEO and editor-in-chief. And welcome back to the Architecture Hunter webinars. After 2 incredible days exploring urban legacy and sustainability, yes, tudo certo? Okay. We are very excited to continue this journey of learning and exchange. Yesterday's discussion brought insightful perspectives from industry leaders, shedding light on the future of sustainable architecture. Just a moment, guys. I realize I'm not sharing. Okay, now I am sorry. Okay, okay, let me get back. So yesterday discussion brought insightful perspectives from industry leaders, shedding light on the future of sustainable architecture. If you missed it, don't worry, the recordings will be available soon on our website. And for those tuning in for the first time, welcome. Architecture Hunter is a global platform dedicated to discovering and sharing the most innovative ideas in architecture. Our mission has always been built on 3 key pillars: inspiring, informing, and entertaining. And with this new initiative, we will introduce a fourth: education. Through these webinars, we aim to create ongoing learning opportunities from architecture professionals and enthusiasts worldwide. And this is just the beginning. Our webinar series will continue with monthly talks featuring some of the most influential voices in architecture and design. Stay connected through our website and social media for updates on upcoming sessions. We also want to extend our sincere gratitude to the Hosting Foundation, whose support has been essential in making this entire webinar series possible. In addition to co-curating yesterday's Sustainability Day panel discussions, they have played a key role in bringing this project to life, fostering the exchange of knowledge and ideas in architecture. We also remind you that the applications for the Hosting Foundation Award are open until February 11th. This is an incredible opportunity offering a $1 million prize to the winner. So if you have a project that aligns with their vision for sustainable and innovative design, don't miss your chance to apply. Today, our focus shifts to inside growth, managing architecture firms. While outstanding design is at the core of any great architecture firm, success isn't built on projects alone. Behind every influential practice, there's a strong internal culture, efficient management, and a leadership approach that fosters collaboration, creativity, and a long-term growth. How do firms balance innovation with stability? What makes an office environment thrive? How do architects evolve into leaders who inspire their teams and shape the future of their practices? Understanding the inner workings of architecture firms is essential, not just for firm owners and managers, but for anyone looking to grow within the field. Whether you are leading a team, working within one, or aspiring to start your own practice, the way an office is structured and managed directly impacts creativity, efficiency, and even project outcomes. So today's conversation will dive into these critical topics, offering insights from 2 professionals who have navigated the challenges of firm leadership at the highest level. We are honored to welcome Gina Burns, Principal of Perkins & Will, and Danielle Reimers, Principal at SAOTA, who will share their expertise on leadership, firm growth, and navigating the evolving architecture industry. All right, so let me quickly explain how our webinars work. Each speaker will deliver the presentation first, and then we'll move on to a live quick Q&A session. Our team will be keeping an eye on the chat and the Q&A section throughout the talk, selecting the most relevant questions to present to the speakers at the end. So don't be shy, send your questions. We want this to be as interactive and engaging as possible. So let's kick off our first session of the day with Danielle. She's principal at SAOTA, bringing global expertise in architecture, a distinguished graduate in architecture and MBA holder from the University of Cape Town in South Africa. Danielle's portfolio spans award-winning international projects, including cultural landmarks and urban master plans. So please welcome Danielle.
Hi, everyone. Let me quickly get set up. Sure. Thank you, Amanda. I'm incredibly grateful to be here today to discuss a topic that feels deeply personal, but also universal at the same time: growth and adaptation.
Yes.
It's quite fascinating. It's quite fascinating to think about how architecture studios, much like people, go through distinct phases of development, each with its own challenges, lessons, and opportunities for transformation. So thank you so much for having me, and to the rest of the Architecture Hunter team for bringing us all together. I think this is an amazing opportunity to share our knowledge and experiences. Whether
Thank you
it's
for our invitation.
Especially whether it's nurturing creativity or managing the practicalities of running a studio or finding balance between all the tensions of professional life. I think we all have to reflect this broader journey and navigate this growth. So as we explore these ideas today, I'd like all of you, or all the listeners and watchers, to reflect on your own evolution, your own growth as a creator and leader. After all, the way we shape our practices often mirror the way we shape ourselves. So after chatting to a few of my fellow principals, they all invariably have differing opinions on what led to the company's consistent growth and success over the past 20 years. Being the latest to join the fold, I do have my own personal opinions, which I hope to explain to you today. There's no silver bullet in growing a successful business. It requires a multifaceted approach and at times a bit of serendipitous luck. Sorry, I have somebody in the room who's telling me I need to adjust my camera. Oh, you can't see my presentation.
Yes,
Sorry.
I was about to ask you, I don't know if you're sharing the presentation.
I am. Sorry for the troubleshooting. Let me try again. Share. Screen 2.
Okay, now we are.
Okay. Can you see from beginning? Can you see it now?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Thank goodness. Okay. Thank goodness I have Rachel here with me. Thanks, Rachel. Okay, so I think what was interesting for me is that each of my partners have a different perspective on how we've grown, what success means to them, and the evolution of our practice. I'm going to try and unpack my thinkings around the practice with which I've been for the past 12 years. I don't think there's a silver bullet in growing a successful business. It does require a multifaceted approach and serendipity. So having these amazing minds in my orbit means that at times it's quite challenging to find consensus. But I really think our success today is leveraging multiple perspectives and finding the balance of both and thinking. So as I mentioned, I think architecture studios are inherently dynamic, and we're constantly pulled in different directions by internal and external forces. I think this push and pull can often feel chaotic, but I don't think it has to be. I think through introspection and interrogation, we can often work towards a framework for navigating these tensions. This is a Petri dish by artist Daria Fedorova. Petri dishes are are usually used for growing and observing microorganisms, but I'd like to think of our studio a bit like a petri dish. Our studio is really where we analyze our processes, identify our genetic material, our DNA, and really refine the ecosystem or the right environment in which we, designers, employees, our practice can grow and thrive. So in essence, we've always been in a constant state of evolution. Unlike solvable challenges, polarities are ongoing tensions that often require continuous management rather than a one-time solution. These tensions require different types of strategies that are adaptive and supportive and that address the nuances in the flux and flow between both. So at SAOTA, we try to balance the both and thinking to leverage both perspectives for better outcomes. So today I'd like to broadly discuss how we continue to analyze and address the following tensions within the following themes: leadership, mentorship, design, value creation, and people. So the decentralization of roles and responsibilities has really allowed us to foster innovation on all fronts. However, a centralized support system has ensured that we maintain a certain level of uniformity when required. So this centralized control ensures quality, and the decentralization fosters flexibility and innovation. But we really require both to maintain a supportive environment for ideation. This idea grew organically into a guild of creatives under the SAOTA umbrella. So SAOTA was founded in 1986, and ARC, our interior architecture sister company, opened their doors 10 years later. The following year, in 1997, OCA, our furniture design studio, opened, and this collaborative process amongst these different disciplines, architecture, interior architecture, and furniture, are treated as a single explorative process, really allowing us the continual sharing of knowledge and inspiration working across scales. So as our international opportunities increased over time, we scaled this model for each of the individual companies into a studio of studios, with each principal managing a specific geographical region. This means that we gain technical knowledge on regional construction systems. We grow a knowledge base on local climatic and passive sustainable systems. We also grow a regional awareness of regulatory systems and legal parameters while exploring nuances of working within specific cultural and social fabrics. And in this way, we get to service our clients better throughout the process because there's shared knowledge that helps us grow a global vision through a local identity. And this growing body of information has allowed us to develop feedback loops that assist us in growing a culture of continuous improvement while maintaining quality and consistency. It also inspires healthy competition. So we've built this library of knowledge acquired throughout our 39 years of practice. And our ongoing concern is how to assist in applying these learnings. And our goal is to support our employees to grow to their full potential on their professional journey. And we want to contribute to their professional evolution by allowing them to sharpen their tools, combining technical expertise, project management, interpersonal abilities, and creative vision. Our core system center is really the custodian of our internal knowledge management platform, My Workspace. This team's function is critical in streamlining our operational efficiency. They play a fundamental role in acting as a type of air traffic controller, coordinating, developing, and maintaining all of our essential office systems, which include all of our ExCo projects. To manage this tension between technical skills and creative vision, we've set up 3 distinct communities for mentorship and professional development. And this process is supported by multiple departments and requires both passive and active engagement. on online learning platforms and on-site learning experiences, and applies to our interns, our new graduates, as well as our experienced architects. So our first community is for new graduates who require specific ongoing training for registering with our regulatory body for the South African architectural profession. Our second, Connected, is really ongoing training and upskilling based on design, practice, production, and BIM Exco units. These are live training sessions with a Q&A session afterwards, and includes our holistic learning management system, housing over 900 internal and external courses. The third community is Build. It's really an internal leadership development program aimed at growing our principals, associates, and senior staff. We really use this platform to share our leadership stories and challenges and successes. And finding the tension can only be achieved by really transparently sharing our knowledge and inspiring a culture of inquiry. So all our project information, documentation, data is really accessible to all. So how can we plan for creativity? It's kind of contradictory, so I don't think we can. So what we really try to do is streamline our processes to allow space for creative serendipity. Our production and manuals unit, together with our design unit, assist us in trying to co-create this balance. And by using many support documents, these assist us in co-creating the balance and ensure a holistic interrogation of our ideas, our technical resolution throughout our milestone design stages. We like to think that this foundational toolbox is able to free our minds from endless routine tasks and really allow our creative and technical expertise to flourish into meaningful architecture. We also regularly host research, analyze, and design sessions called RAD sessions within our groups, where we interrogate each other's projects, question the big ideas, and really ensure that the conceptual resolution is extended into the design detailing. We also question our design pathways. If we're building on similar ideas, how contextually and climatically appropriate our solutions are, if we should be exploring more sculptural, gestural projects, or echoing our geological environments. Could we also explore a structure and material in innovative ways? But we also don't want to be too restrictive. So exploring our processes and moving back and forth between scales and ideas really helps us to unlock each project's unique potential. And ideation is not always a linear process, even though I think on occasion we'd like it to be. So this leads us to planning and really dealing with our workload. I hope you all know the John Lennon lyrics from Beautiful Boy. Life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. The same applies to business. Our local and global socio-political and economic context is continuously changing. And we can't always predict what's going to happen next, but we can grow our capabilities to navigate challenges that arise by measuring the probabilities for success and failure. We factor this into our forecasting and planning. Our finance department, together with our practice unit, develop measured strategies and ensure that we're globally competitive in our fee structure. And their processes and systems really help us to track our new proposals, our current projects, our financial targets, so that we can effectively manage our resourcing and course correct when required. However, there have been occasions, examples such as the 2008 economic crash, as well as the start of the COVID pandemic, where we found opportunity in adversity. we always invest and work on our ecosystem. And as Winston Churchill famously said, never waste a good crisis. So it's difficult to predict the future, but we can be responsive to the evolution of ideas and technologies. And instead of trying to keep up, I think we try to strive to be the first adopters. And this is only possible if we continue to invest in ourselves, our processes, and our people. As a creative guild with a pragmatic mindset, I think we like to respond and not react to new challenges. Our emergence of new departments and structures has been a natural progression over a long period of time. And these new departments often are a result of addressing daily challenges, but also of dreaming big and dreaming of our best future in mind. Please note, we also rigorously test the waters and only run with these new projects or departments when we feel that there's been good progress made. I really love drafting this SAOTA solar system of our business, as it really shows how fundamental each of our core departments are and how our studios orbit, gaining momentum, growth, because of this core system's hard work at keeping it all together. Very similar to the notion of the sun: without light, there can be no growth or even survival. Of our most recent additions to our solar system is the exploration of AI as an architectural tool. We've also introduced a resource center that covers research into construction systems, material research, innovation, and life cycle assessments. It's honestly my favorite physical place in the studio, and I tend to spend every spare moment investigating their new offerings, materials, products, and while picking their brains and their expertise. And lastly, something that we're also incredibly proud of is our internal library and archive of products, each project holding an intricate body of knowledge that covers the last 39 years of practice. So moving on to the last theme of the presentation are people. The people at SAOTA, ARC, and OCA are the growing culture in our petri dish of a studio. And they're really how we manage the tension of, getting meaningful projects and work out into the world. What I think is critical is understanding the tension between employing and retaining the right candidates, especially in the current context. If I can give you some background statistics, unemployment in South Africa is sitting at 32%. And of the 8,859 registered architects, 20% are women and 3% are women of color. So the homogeneity of the profession is really out of line with SAOTA's diversity demographics, really showing a tangible race and gender imbalance. But despite the gendered historical nature of the construction industry, we believe that this is really a legacy of apartheid and the repercussions of complex intersecting issues. Because of this, it's critical that we as a company address this imbalance while trying to recruit the right talent. So our initiatives include our broad-based Black Economic Empowerment Committee, our seed initiatives sharing knowledge of the industry in schools of previously disadvantaged communities. We also offer scholarships to aspiring architects who don't have the sufficient means to access tertiary education. Since our move to remote hybrid working during COVID, we've had the possibility to expand our talent pool to the rest of South Africa and abroad. And this has resulted in the increase in our diversity. So we now employ 230 designers and architects and overall 439 employees. Our support initiatives have a strong focus on well-being through building trust and connection. We believe that growing this connection together leads to professional growth and knowledge sharing. So if an individual is well-resourced and supported, they will thrive professionally and find value and meaning in the workplace. These initiatives include weekly desk yoga, monthly design Fridays, social blink presentations, similar to Pecha Kucha, really discussing what's going on in each of the studios. But Rusk is really my personal favorite, because who doesn't enjoy joining a randomized online office group of people for a coffee and a chat? So we're really striving to be an employer of choice. And as we've grown, we've really adjusted our focus so that we can attract and retain the best possible talent. We'd like to believe that we continue to build a supportive co-creating community where each individual can thrive professionally. So in conclusion, it's been quite difficult for me to distill the complexity of our business into 6 themes. Leadership, mentorship, design, value creation, planning, and people are, in my mind, the literal crux of our continued success. And I just want to say a big thanks to my team to help me wrap up this presentation today, but as well as to the amazing humans in all the departments and excos whose work I've proudly presented today. I think these are the unsung heroes of our practice, especially when we're focusing on architecture. So this is really a love letter to all of you. So thank you. Thanks, Amanda. Thanks to the Architecture Hunter team. I don't know if I've made it on time or if I'm running over, but it was great to discuss SAOTA, Arc and Oka, and how we work.
No, thank you so much, Danielle. It was a great presentation. We value a lot offices, firms that share this behind the scenes of their offices with the community, because we understand this is so important. As we mentioned, the success of an architecture firm is doesn't rely only on great projects, but also on how everything is led inside the firm. So it's great to share. We from Architecture already know a bit of how everything runs inside there. So we know that this could be very insightful for our community. Well, now we have the Q&A section. So please, everyone, send your questions in the Q&A session or in the chat if you prefer. But we already have some questions here. So, if you could stop sharing your presentation.
Sure.
So then we can interact here. But well, we have our first question from Tajer Fattori. Planning for imperfection means that the errors are more interesting than it's when the design comes to full completion.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Planning for imperfection means that errors are more interesting than hits when the design comes to full completion.
So to full completion?
Yeah.
I think it depends. For us, I think planning for imperfection in holistic sense in the process, what could be perceived as imperfection or an error could be an opportunity. And I think that's, how we think about complexities and adversity and challenges. Mm-hmm. So we're always considering what the opportunities are when we are faced with errors or challenges, and how we can unlock the next steps. So I think there's a certain level of rigor and a certain level of curiosity in trying to address, adversities that may arrive in the design process, in the construction resolution. I think we all do, I think, as architects.
Yes.
I don't know if I was answering that question.
I think you did, and I think it's kind of related with something that you said in a presentation that I really liked about the crisis. Like a crisis is an opportunity to grow, or you said something like this, and we agree so much. It's such a nice and thought-provoking. Okay, so next question. SAOTA is known for its distinct architectural language. How do you maintain that identity while allowing room for innovation?
I think it's fascinating how each principal or group within the principal group and within the studios has a varying philosophy, but held together by this golden thread, which I think is the SAOTA brand. And I think it's really based off of starting the practice in Cape Town. And we've got such a range of geographical situations around the City Bowl. And what we're always trying to do is work with the experience, the natural environment, the views. And I think that makes our buildings quite tangible in any environment, because what we're trying to do is connect it to the natural surroundings and narrating a group of experiences or of differing experiences.
Mm-hmm. That's right. There is also another very good question here from a perspective of someone who's starting. So how to win projects as a newly established architecture firm, having very less networking and connections?
How to win projects. I would go straight into competitions. I know they're not paying projects, but I think you get to test your design muscle and you get to explore. And I think that's all about architectural growth. I mean, once you build those connections, I think, or build a network, I think the work will come. But I think it's almost about being able to prove your design capabilities first. And sometimes I mentioned serendipitous luck, or looking for work or opportunities. And maybe it's a small renovation, or somebody asks you to design their doghouse. I don't know. I had a friend who was an architect, and his career blossomed from designing the most beautiful piece of architecture for a family pet. So I think about, looking for opportunities of where you can really explore your creativity and apply the knowledge that you've learned at university.
I really like what you say about competitions, because yesterday one of our talks featured Snoheta, and they didn't tell this yesterday, but I know that Snoheta, for example, like the firm started from a competition because they won a competition. Like just some friends they decided to run in this competition, and they won. So actually this was the beginning of Snoheta, for example. And so that's so true. Like sometimes the competition can be a very nice way to start more
exactly. So it's about taking every opportunity.
Yes. There is another question here. The firm works on projects worldwide. How do you structure your team to manage different time zones, cultures, and regulations?
Okay, so it's kind of what I refer to as our creative guilds. So the studio is structured to be a studio of studios. So each principal runs a different geographic zone, and we kind of align them so that they're either working in one time zone or the other. And I think that helps streamline the workflow, helps us build knowledge in various regions. It helps us also foster relationships with our partnering consultants. So that really has established how we learn and how we've grown in various regions around the world.
Okay. Okay, there is a important question here too. Um, Hello, Danielle. Thanks for the presentation. My question is more in the sense of employee management. As a manager who deals with certain areas, how do you deal with egos or any disputes that may emerge? How do you deal with tension in the team? It's a tough question, but I think it's important.
No, it is a very important question. I think I would say I deal with it honestly and with humility and sensitivity. I think navigating our educational process is already the first trial in addressing our egos. I think it's a tough evolution no matter where you are designing or growing your knowledge base at any institution around the world. I think being open to criticism is critical, because sometimes a wrong idea may lead to the right one. So I think the more humble you are in being open to diverse opinions is probably going to lead you to a more holistic solution.
Yes, I agree. And another question here. Wait, where was it? Sorry, I lost the question. It was a very good question here. Okay, how did you find your company partners? Any advice for someone just starting an architecture company?
How did I find my architectural partners? Oh, so I was lucky they found me. I think you alluded to it, Amanda, but I think if you find a common ground with another architect who inspires you, who prompts you to grow, who interrogates and helps you to be a better architect, I think those are the people that you want close to you. A support system and structure that helps you to become the best architect you can possibly be.
I think I'd like to answer this question too, because I founded Architecture in 2013, and I only found my partners in 2020. And for me, it was very important to realize that we, like the three of us, had the same values, but we disagreed in many things. And that was the good thing, because if we agreed in everything, maybe like we wouldn't have important discussions that would lead us to something bigger. Or if it's just what you said when looking trying to deal with employees too, like you have to have different people that think differently from you. And I think this also goes to when you're looking for your partners. If you all think the same, like probably you're not gonna have like important brainstorms that bring to like a bigger.
Definitely.
Yeah. So
I couldn't agree more.
yeah, the values must be very aligned, but you must disagree in lots of things. This is actually very healthy. And I have a very good question from an architecture student. As an architecture student, I'm really interested in understanding what firms like SAOTA look for in young architects and designers. What key qualities do you prioritize when hiring? And what advice could you give to someone aspiring to work in a leading global firm like yours?
Wow, there's so many skills. I think we're looking for a well-rounded individual. So it's not just based on a good body of work or portfolio. I think we want to understand that you're curious about architecture. We'd love for potential candidates to have an inquiring mind or a growth mindset. I think, technology is changing so rapidly, and some of the new employees or new graduates who are joining the company are bringing a whole new range of thinking to our practice. So I think be yourself, but also promote to your future employees what inspires you in the profession. What are your passions? And I think that's how many people in our office have actually grown, is that they've contributed to their passions in our practice. And that has fortified our systems and our thinking and our processes. So I think, yeah,
I like that.
inspired individuals is what we're looking for.
Another question here. I love the term design muscle. How do you strive to apply this principle amongst your practice, and more particularly with the new recruits?
Wow. So I mentioned our RAD processes, which are research, analyze, and design. And it's kind of similar to like a university criticism session. And it's quite informal, and we sketch on work together. And what we're trying to do is really interrogate the fundamental principles and the big picture thinking, the ideas, the concept. But there are pragmatic aspects that we're also wanting to interrogate at the same time. Passive sustainable principles. Are we contextually relevant? Culturally sensitive? So I think there are so many variables in creating meaningful architecture. And through these RAD sessions, we're trying to see how and where we can innovate.
That's good. And another question, do you encourage your staff to train across your sister companies? If so, what does the schedule look like? For example, do designers rotate for a set period to gain a well-rounded understanding of the overall brand ethos?
So we're very much split into silos in terms of each of the companies, but where we get to learn from each other is where we collaborate. So we've worked on multiple projects where all three companies are involved. We all have the same training processes and systems, but in collaboration, we're dealing with different aspects of the building and dealing with different scales. So during the design process, there's a certain set of collaboration requirements in terms of following through the architectural conceptual thinking into the interior architectural development, as well as the decor development and the furniture development. So I think the thinking processes are quite similar. I think it's the scale at which we work which differs.
Good. And another one here. Do all your creative designers and architects work from Cape Town, or do you also employ geographically local remote designers as well?
We now employ across South Africa, and we've opened recruitment to quite a few countries abroad, at least where we can remunerate competitively. I mean, being a growing economy, it kind of, and our currency fluctuation means that we can be competitive in a global market, but we can't always perhaps provide competitive or like-for-like salaries, perhaps say in the US or the UK or in Europe. So we're employing we have employees in India, we have employees in Egypt. So I think our remote employee base and designer base is growing. And that's also bringing new insights into our practice.
Yes, I get you like 100%, because we being based in Brazil, we have the same like a currency fluctuation. So sometimes we want to hire people from all over the world, but we can't be as competitive as other companies. I understand. And what strategies have been most effective in balancing creative integrity with business scalability? And how do you ensure that your design ethos remains consistent as the firm expands? That's a very good question.
So I think our consistency is related to the research, analyze, and design sessions. I think every project that we develop is run through one of these processes, and all our senior management and middle management participate in these sessions. So it does kind of refine the process and interrogate each design. I think, just repeat the first part of the sentence or the first part of the question. I think there was an important introduction point. Sorry, I didn't have a pen to write down these questions.
No, it's okay. Here. Wait, now I lost these questions. What is being effective in balancing? Yeah, what strategies have been most effective in balancing creative integrity with business scalability? And how do you ensure that your design's ethos remains consistent as the firm expands?
Yes, so I think for us, it's really those sessions. And I think understanding, because scalability happens, I think, when you growing your network, your database. I think many of our projects have been through, the growing and nurturing of relationships with really patrons of architecture, and through word of mouth, and this network has grown quite organically. And, as I mentioned, each individual studio will have a certain type of inspiration or nuance, but there's definitely this golden thread that ties all our projects together. And I think it's that philosophy that I mentioned that was really drawn from practicing in Cape Town, in trying to provide opportunities for view and really functional living, and expanding your perception of architecture within the boundaries of a site.
Great. And well, we have time for only one more question, and we have some other here, but we don't have time for all the questions. But I think this is very important, a very important topic. These past years, architects talk a lot about mental health and a work-life balance. As we all know, there is a lot of work to be done, and much of the work is done in the office community. Could you share some policies that help us not overburden the people who work there?
Well, we have quite a few policies, or at least triggers and analyses and triggers and systems to make sure that we monitor the workflow, the workload, overtime. We try and limit it wherever possible. We also have an open resource planning system. So often within the studios, we kind of collaboratively assist each other. So, we might be working in a specific region, but the person who's normally or usually working in that region has too much work, then they'll hand over the potential project to maybe somebody else who has capacity. So I think through communication and these open, transparent systems, we try and find a way to deal with too much work and overtime. And also we have, obviously, with any creative practice, it's deadline driven. So we go through ebbs and flows where we have to work harder and where we're, working in a more relaxed state. And sometimes when we are aware that there's going to be a crunch, we offer employees days off for what we call recovery leave.
Very good. Well, Danielle, thank you so much for both presentation and the Q&A session. This was great. It was a great discussion. Thank you also to the SAOTA team that I know that has been helping us to make this possible today.